So first thing you want to do is you want to set up your plywood so that you work, okay? Now, you want the length of the shield to go with the grain. In this case, it's here. When you're looking at the plywood, you can see all these brown marks all throughout here. Those generally run with the grain, okay? So, of course, some parts go other ways, but for the most part, you can see that they all go this way. So that is the grain. You want the top and the bottom to be with the grain, because when we go to the next video and do a rounding of the shields, makes it a whole lot easier and it actually works. The other way around just doesn't work. So to start off for the video, I'm going to be using red marker, because red marker actually does show up on the video a whole lot better than my pencil. But when you do the actual measuring and everything like that, you want to use a pencil. Be as exact as possible. So what I have done here is that if you don't have a yardstick, you can create one and mark the exact measurements you need. Now you can see multiple measurements here, and that's because I'm making two different types of shields. This is actually for a real project for some of my people, but what you want to mark is when you do teardrop shields, the max size that was set forth by a group that we frequently go to their events for was 2 feet wide and 4 feet tall. So we set that as our max as well. Basically, we're using that for anybody that's above 6 feet uses that. And then basically from that point on, you actually measure how wide your standing profile is. So from basically all the way over here to all the way over here. And basically 1 inch less, and that is your size. Then you take that measurement and divide 24 inches and you will get a percentage. Then you multiply, not a percentage, sorry, a decimal point. Then a decimal. Then you take that decimal and you multiply it by 48. So 48 is 4 feet. And then that will give you the number of inches tall that it should be. Now, the person that I'm making this for is 20 inches wide, so they are getting a 19. And their total length will be at a 42. So I marked that on here for this. And then when I got these from Home Depot, I had them cut the sheet in half because I had my Jeep with me, not my truck, and makes it a whole lot easier to go in. Well, that makes it so that it's purely 48 from this. So you can get pretty good at making these shields that way. So what we're gonna start here is, you can see the marks on here. What you want is you want 1 mark for half of your width, 1 mark for your full width, and then 1 mark for your length, okay? There's a reason for this, okay? You want half the width because that is going to be the radius of the shield. And basically, how you want to start with your marking is, it's going to look like a equilateral, not an equilateral, sorry, a triangle that's the same on 2 sides. It can be folded in half and seen, but it's not equal on all 3 sides. I forgot what it's called. Maybe it's an isosceles. Yes, it's isosceles. So it's going to be an isosceles with a half circle on top of it. I commonly refer to it as the ice cream cone. You'll start making that, and that's going to be the base of your shield. After that point, you're going to round it a little bit and everything like that, but you don't want to lose that width, so you're actually going to be adding instead of taking away from the shape. So we'll start with what we want to do first, which is we want to find the center of that circle so that we have a full half circle. Now, what you can do is you take your measurements. And you want to take your center mark. Mark it on the top or bottom. If you find that you have a crack, this one has a crack, I don't know how much is showing up, but you want the cracks to be on top instead of on bottom. If they're on bottom, they'll break faster. Or you may like it the other way around. Doesn't really matter. I personally like it the other way around, but that's how I was advised. So I might as well tell you guys. But you mark your radius on the top and bottom. Now, you want to draw that down so that there's a center line. Okay? Start using my red marker like I said I would. Okay. Yeah, you can kind of see it. Hopefully it'll be a little bit better. All right, now you can see it. All right. So, we got our mark here. Now what you want to do is you want to take your radius, mark again. You're going to go along that line. You're going to mark off your radius. Okay? Make a little cross mark so it basically creates an X with your center line. Now, what you are going to do is also take your radius mark down the edge here. And this creates 2 points in which you can have a straight edge. Then you line your width right there so that the center, so the radius mark is right here. And then you've got your width there. Then just to make sure, you will take your radius mark again, put a cross right here. So now you have this point. Now from that point, you just take your radius mark and start making arcing lines by turning this along that edge. Now it's not going to be perfectly round just because you're using very, very indiscrete changes. Okay? the radius, what you want to do is you want to slowly take what will be your pencil and start to fill in the gaps in between those lines. It'll be pretty easy if you have a slightly steady hand. You don't need to be a perfect artist to get it, but you can very easily get a pretty decent line just by making small marks in between each of your marks. And then you have your half circle right over here. Now, what you're going to want to do after that is you will see your overall length. You want your total length. You match it up here, and then you'll make your cross mark down here. And you'll take your straight edge, you'll go to the beginning of your half circle on that radius mark down there. You will draw a straight line in between your bottom and your top. Now, that's not the only thing left to do, because this shield will actually be very small in comparison to what you want. What you're going to do is you're going to take something like a coffee mug or a can of food, and you're going to put it at the very point of your end, so that the coffee mug is covering up the point. You don't want to butt it up to the point, so here's your point. And you don't want to do that with your coffee mug. You want to cover that with your coffee mug, but put it towards the end. And what you're going to do is you're going to trace that mug Now the reason for that is because you want to have a rounded point down here. And this gives you kind of a guide to do it. Now, what you also want to do is you want to take your, basically where it makes it look like a ice cream cone, and then you want to add just a smidge more, just a sliver, the tiniest of slivers. For this one, it's going to basically be 3 inches down. Okay. Now that allows you just a smidget more on the material. Now what you're going to do then is you're going to take that point and you are going to leave basically a inch on either side of your center line for that circle. Then you just kind of round everything out, make sure that it looks relatively nice, and you've got yourself a kite shield. Now I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer so that I can run through everything real fast with this, just in case quality's not great. As you can see, there's the center line. From here to here is your radius point. Then what you're going to do is you're going to mark your radius point down here, Then you're gonna line up your stick so that the center point is right there. You are lined up over here, so then you can make this mark here. Then you're gonna take here, center point, mark there. And you are going to mark your total length so that you have it. So down to here. Then what you're going to do is you're going to slowly take your radius and make tick marks all along here, and same with the other side, and then draw the half circle. And you're going to draw, this is kind of an unnecessary step, but I like to do it. It just makes it look all that much better. Makes it look like I did the work. You're going to draw from here down to your end, same with the other side. Then what you're going to do is you are going to take your coffee mug right here, trace it. Now you're going to take, in order to round your ice cream cone a little bit more so it looks more like a teardrop than an ice cream cone, you're going to give yourself a little bit of extra room. I kind of just followed the circle vaguely right here and found out it's just a few inches. Mark right there. Do the same over here. And then you are going to leave an inch on either side of that circle, roughly, just enough to make it round. And you're going to mark from your secondary mark over here to that inch mark on each side.